Hi there, looks like I'm live in Anxiety Free Life and my local hypnosis. Welcome everyone, 4 p.m. Friday. I do need to apologize. Last Friday, I got into my zone and completely missed my live. So I apologize for that if you were waiting for it. I'm talking today about self-sabotage, why we do it, and how to stop. And before we go any further, I just want to let you know that I am not exempt from this. I also do self-sabotage myself. It's about being aware of when we're doing it and being able to re-navigate and re-steer into the direction that we want to go. So basically, self-sabotage is when we want something, we have a dream or a desire or a goal, something genuine that we really want. People say that to me all the time, but I really, really want this. It could be a relationship. It could be a career goal, a financial goal, perhaps like a weight or a health goal, any kind of behavioral goal, like I want to be more friendly, or I want to be anything, like I want to have a better relationship. Whatever we desire, we know we want it, we know how to get there, or at least we have some idea of what kind of things we should be doing. And then we just completely kick ourselves down and prevent ourselves from getting there. Hey, Sheena, thanks for watching. Okay, so examples. You know that motivation you have when you want to get healthy, get fit, lose weight, eat healthier. We know how to do it, like eat less, exercise more, eat more veggies, that kind of thing. And then what we have is it's almost like we're witnessing ourselves doing something that's completely against what we want. It's like you can actually witness yourself getting into the car, driving to the shops and going and buying takeaway food. And it's like, why can't we stop ourselves? Why am I doing this? Why can't I just stick to what I want to achieve? Why am I the one that's doing stuff that's pulling me down? And I can think of examples in my life. So, for example, in relationships. So just say going along like early days with Nick, where we were kind of, and then for some reason I witnessed myself like starting a fight, or, preventing us from having a nice time because I'd have to, throw that one comment in, or do that one thing, or have this, emotional, shit fit or whatever. And I'd be thinking, why are you self-sabotaging? Why are you sabotaging this? Why are you pulling down what you're building? And it comes down, it can be so many things. It can be when people get jobs or whatever. Like I've seen people actually physically get sick to the point where they can't work. And it's like almost like a self-sabotage, like you're going to lose your job, but hey, you can't go to work because you're sick. It's self-sabotage. I see it all the time in other people. So the great thing about observing is we can all see everything that everyone else is doing. But it's really, really great and really, really powerful when we can recognize when we're doing it ourselves. So the bottom line about self-sabotage is we want something, we really genuinely wanted it, something that's good for us. And then there's this like clash between our unconscious programming and our conscious desire. And let's have a look why this is happening. We're self-sabotaging. A lot of our self-sabotage is going to boil down to one thing, and that is fear. Now, fear can be conscious or unconscious. So if you think, hey, I'm not scared of being wealthy, or I'm not scared of being skinny, think again, because just because you don't think that you're scared doesn't mean that your unconscious doesn't have fear programming in there. So fear of the unknown, fear of failure, fear of looking like an idiot, fear of humiliation, fear of rejection, of abandonment, of not being good enough, of getting hurt, of being judged, fear of not fitting in somehow. And like one example that I have is like we used to live in a really, really small place, and we were at the point where we wanted to start looking at getting a bigger place. And we were looking for 2 years, and it was like self-sabotage, but it all seemed to be like everything outside of us. It wasn't like we were actually doing anything wrong. It'd just be like, we'd make an offer, we wouldn't get it, da-da-da. And I said to Nick, I wonder, like I suddenly thought, hang on, because I believe that our external life and our external world is a reflection of the inside. And if you want to change the outside, you start within. And I said to Nick, I said, something isn't aligning for us to have this next step, because if it did, we'd already have it. It will become easily. And it's like this massive struggle, in and out of cars, arguing about car parking spots outside of open homes, all that sort of stuff. And all that financial argument as well, like how are we going to do this and whatever. And so I said, what's the worst thing that would happen if I had lived in a beautiful big house? Well, straight away, I knew what it was. I thought, no one will like me. No one's going to want to be friends with me because they'll think that I'm this stuck up, person that lives in a big house. I don't know where I got that belief, because I have plenty of people that live in big houses. But for some reason, I felt that I could connect better with people if we were, at the time I was driving a 20-year-old car and all sorts of things. So I was sort of like that thing where it's that tall poppy syndrome, keep yourself small, just stay down in the huddle kind of thing. And this is what happens to all of us. It doesn't have to be something like, moving to a big house. It can be just something simple like getting a better job, or even not having anxiety, for example. So I usually say to people, what's the worst thing that would happen if you no longer had anxiety? Because sometimes the things that we want to get rid of in our life are bringing us like benefit. They're helping us to not have to do things, not have to be things, not have to, and they're also providing for us a level of connection and support and stuff like that, like lots of different things. Like one of the things with smoking, I'd say to people, what's one of the benefits of smoking, and say it's a social excuse. It helps me to get out of, like, I'm going for a smoke, gets me out of a social situation. What are you going to say if you don't smoke? Well, okay, I could say I'm going to the bathroom, but then I look like I've got a bladder problem. These are real conversations, So everything we do has a reason. So our unconscious mind loves familiarity. What is familiar to us, we're programmed that way. If it's not familiar, that just think about survival. If you're in the wild and you pick up some random berry and you eat it, well, if it's not familiar, it's not safe. If you're going to a place that you haven't been before, that's hey Tracy, that's potentially not safe. So we're programmed, it's hardwired in that we stick to the familiar. So if living in a certain place, if doing a certain job, if having a certain income, if having a certain fitness level or a relationship status, all that stuff. Like, and you see people when they're in a relationship and they want to leave. Oh, that's scary. That's not familiar. Oh, what will I do without this person in my life? Well, hey, you'd have a whole stack less stress in your life. How about start with that? So, but I mean, also about getting into relationships. If you're having trouble getting a relationship, ask yourself, imagine you, and then think, where are you and who are you with? Because if you're imagining yourself on your own, it's likely that your unconscious sees yourself as a solo. So if you're not picturing yourself as, that person smack in the middle of like a big family photo, or, in one of those coupley kind of things, your unconscious is going to say, well, that's not familiar. That's completely, that's the thing I crave, am lacking, and see in other people. So then there's identity, right? Identity, it's the who am I? Is this goal possible for someone like me? If you see yourself as a particular type of person, and in your mind that type of person doesn't have that goal, you're never going to get there, because your unconscious is going to say, oh, you're that type of person. That's impossible for you. So there's a whole stack of stuff going on here. There's unconscious fears, there's unconscious identity issues, there's unconscious beliefs, there's the whole stack. It's like a neatly woven basket. So just say you want to have money and your unconscious mind says to you, hey, you don't deserve money. Money's really hard. You got to work really hard. You were born to struggle. Life's tough. Nothing ever works out for you. It doesn't matter. You're only going to lose it anyway. You're going to blow it. Like, everyone else has it easier. Every time I get ahead, someone knocks me down. This one I love. I'm not materialistic. That's great. So if all that's jammed in there and you're there sitting there, well, I want to save up for a holiday. Well, first of all, are you the type of person that can afford a holiday? Ask yourself, is that how I see myself? Is there, do my beliefs support it? Can I imagine this? So I've probably told you this story before, but quite some time ago now, I had a client make an inappropriate advance, and at the time, I was just on the 61 kilo mark, and straight away, or it might have been on the 60 kilo mark, I'm not sure, around that 60, 61 kilos, and I zipped straight up to 64, and like in a couple of weeks, and I was like, whoa, what's happening? Okay, unconscious mind saying, this isn't safe for you to be whatever. So I started restoring that, and I got down to 61.4. I weighed myself this morning. I'm still 61.4. I cannot crack down under that until I take the time to work through this stuff. But what is this stuff? There's a couple of things. It's the fear that I was talking about earlier. It's pretty obvious. I've got a partner. I've got a family. It's definitely not safe for random men to be making advances that could destroy my life. Hey, other thing, I've got this identity now. I'm like this mum in my late 40s. What's my mental image of mums in their late 40s? Well, they kind of, they're not huge, but they're not bikini models either. My unconscious mind's going to match exactly what is up here. So there's so many examples of self-sabotage. And I often see it with addiction. We'll go into that a little bit. So addiction is all part of the self-sabotage process. And if you think I'm talking about that, junkie with the crack pipe, yes, again, because I'm talking about you. I'm talking about me and how we get our dopamine. Dopamine is that functional part, that neurotransmitter that tells us move towards this or move away from that. And that's in the reward center of the brain. We are compelled by this dopamine stuff, and all our self-sabotaging behaviors, or at least a huge chunk of them, are driven by that dopamine reward. And dopamine is such an addictive substance that if you give a rat or even a human being for that matter, the option where they can self-administer dopamine hits, they will stop eating, they will stop having sex, they will stop looking after their babies, because why would they want to bother with these activities that would give them little hits of dopamine when they can just get big whacks, and you need more and more the more you get. And so that's just the cycle of addiction. So if you're doing something like gambling or having a piece of cake or doing online shopping, hey, that's going to give you some dopamine. That feeling. It's that, that excitement that I just bought a new pair of pants on Shein. Who cares if they're going to, not fit me when they get here, but I feel like I've just had a little hit. So if you want to quit self-sabotaging and some of your behaviors are dopamine stimulating, you need to find a different way to get the dopamine. Because if you're just going to say, well, I'm never going to eat cake, well, if that's where you're getting your dopamine, well, where else are you going to get it from? Otherwise, you're just going to go into a slump. So if you want to quit self-sabotaging, first you've got to work out, is my self-sabotaging behavior a fear thing? Is it an addiction dopamine chemical thing? Or is it a self-identity thing? And if we look at this, and I just sort of pulled this together just now in my head, if you look at the fear, the fear part, we can use unworrying for that, and that's just a process where you go into the future and you create some good stuff. For dopamine, you can find other ways, but you can also, anticipation releases dopamine. You don't even have to, for example, eat the chocolate to get the dopamine. You just have to look at it and expect it, and then not know that the actual not knowing, am I going to have the chocolate? Am I not going to have the chocolate? And then, by the time you've had the chocolate, by the time you're eating the chocolate, you've already had some dopamine. So, and the other way is to create a new identity. Now, I don't know if you're familiar with Enchanting, which is what my system that I created. Enchanting does all of this stuff for us. Number one, it takes us into the future to eliminate fears, because we're creating outcomes that are positive instead of when we worry and we go and create horrible things. So Enchanting addresses worries. It addresses identity, because as we are using Enchanting, we are creating a new self-image, having a new experience. And it also releases dopamine, because as I enchant, I am experiencing the anticipation and the simulation of what something fabulous would be. So if you can think about that as one system to overcome self-sabotage, this is really, really powerful. I do have a course on this, by the way. It's only like $90 or something, but and I have written a book about it as well. So, but I'm happy to talk about it here, because this is, sharing information is caring, and that's what we're all about here. So by doing that, we are able to then release some of these self-sabotaging behaviors. Is it going to happen overnight? Are you going to start enchanting and boom, you're just going to flow out there? No, it takes time. It's like sit-ups. It's like habit forming. It's like do it every day and you will get the results. It'll start to happen. I see clients that use Enchanting. They do get results quickly. I mean, within, say, for example, 12 weeks, there's usually at least like a noticeable shift in at least one area of their life. The thing with people is that anything that needs consistency gets dumped the minute the pain point goes away. So, you like me, when I started the body restoration, it's like, oh, I'm going to, change everything. As soon as I get down to 61.4, it's like, oh, okay, I'm done now. So, and I'm sure we all can relate to that as well. All right. So I hope that has given you some insight into self-sabotage and what you can do about it. Create an internal representation of yourself, a felt sense, who am I, that matches your goal and matches the behaviors that you want to exhibit in order to reach that goal. Be able to address those fears and deal with your dopamine. Like, start to look at where you're getting. If you have one of these, your dopamine system is likely to be dysregulated. I was up till 1 o'clock last night. Unexpectedly, I didn't expect to be up at 1 o'clock, but it was just that there was constantly another thing on my phone. I thought, oh, I'm going to go to sleep in a minute and so forth. No, that's addiction. That is addiction. So as I said, I am not exempt from all human ailments and human experiences and this human condition that we all live in. However, get the tools and be able to administer them, and you'll gain a lot more power over your life, so that when you do decide that you want to stop self-sabotaging, you actually can. Have a fabulous day and a fabulous weekend. Talk soon.